2022 was an interesting year for video games. It started off very strong with games like Horizon and Elden Ring, and ended very strong with games like God of War Ragnarok. But it kind of meandered in the middle. However, even though we went into this year expecting one of the greatest years in gaming and didn't quite get that, 2023 looks insane. So insane that this top 15, which was originally a top 10, is now a top 20. I have to set some ground rules though, or else this list would never end. Since this is my own personal opinion, I won't be including any games coming to Xbox because I don't have one at the moment. It is something that I do plan on getting at some point, but if the game comes out now and I can't play it, it's not going to be on the list. So no Forza, Redfall, or Starfield, or replaced. Additionally, I'm looking for games that are confirmed for 2023. So as much as I want to include Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, next winter does not for sure mean 2023. And unfortunately, that also means no Tekken 8. Because as far as I have looked, nowhere is it confirmed to be coming out in 2023. And lastly, I'm not going to include any remakes unless they are changing up enough from the original game, as we'll see with one such remake later. But in other words, I'm not including the Dead Space remake because as much as I would have loved to include it, it's a more one-to-one remake. Doesn't mean I'm not excited for it. Anyways, prepare yourselves as we get into this big list. So just subscribe, like the video, comment. I'm not gonna do the usual shtick I do. Just subscribe, please. I need it after this. Rocksteady. Of course, they are most well known for their Batman Arkham games, and now are coming out with a Suicide Squad game, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. From the trailers that we've seen for this game, it looks like a fun and goofy game with the Suicide Squad. Sure, the characters kind of have that bizarre stunt double look, but I kind of come to expect that with these games. When it comes to gameplay and combat, Rocksteady knows how to do it, as they have done it with Arkham. I also really like the idea of, you know, this universe where the Justice League are all being like infected with some evil virus or some shit, and the Suicide Squad, you know, Task Force X or whatever, needs to kill them. It's not higher because they haven't shown too much gameplay, and also it's unclear if this is a live service game or it's not a live service game, but honestly, I think it might just be worth it just to hear the late Kevin Conroy voice Batman one last time. So even if this game sucks, it is kind of bittersweet. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League looks like fun as it drops for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on May 26th.
Moving to a big city, I mean, there's a lot of adjustments. Do you like that little house?
Yeah? I don't know where it is.
Dead Island 2. Let's think about this. This is a game that got its first trailer in 2014. To put that in perspective, I didn't even have my YouTube channel in 2014. But Dead Island 2 is now finally coming out in 2023, and to be honest, it looks really good. First Dead Island game, while not being anything too crazy good, is a fun little time that got a bit of a cult following over the years, but visually, while leaving a little to be desired, I'd say visually the game looks very good, and the sense of humor from the first game is back, and it totally works for a game like this. I am actually really excited to play this, if anything, to see what we get out of a game that has been in development for so long, but the reason it's not higher is because it gives me some Saints Row vibes, like this year's Saints Row. And I know that they're both from Deep Silver, but those Saints Row vibes aren't good vibes. But still, Dead Island 2 looks to be a wildly entertaining, fun zombie game, and I'm looking forward to finally playing it as it releases for PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PS4, and PS5 on April 28th.
I want you to meet me at this address in an hour and we'll slap 5 there. Then afterwards we'll hit the bars.
That sounds good to me. I'm 18 and I'm ready to do some living. We are gonna raise more hell than Hellraiser.
I'm a big wrestling fan. although I'd say I have more of a love-hate relationship with it. WWE, that is. As its competitor, AEW, is getting its first ever big budget title in AEW Fight Forever. This game has been in development for quite some time now. In fact, I think I've heard this game started development when AEW first started, like a few years ago, so goddamn. And that is very commendable for wrestling games, as when you look at the WWE games, they go for a more yearly approach. However, with Yuke's behind AEW, as well as many people who made WWF No Mercy behind this, it's very exciting. Not to mention, AEW Fight Forever seems to have all the features I want in a wrestling game, with some insane matches, lots of blood, and even intergender matches, along with having a design that looks cartoony but still good enough to where I think it looks good. I'm excited for AEW Fight Forever, as it comes out for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series, and Switch, with a rumor that it might be on Game Pass in 2023. Fire Emblem, a series that gets a lot of hate, really just because of its overabundance of characters in Smash. I guess it's also because it's an anime RPG, but it's really damn good. Alright, to be fair, I've only played Awakening and Three Houses, but still, some really great games. And now we are getting another Fire Emblem game, with Fire Emblem Engage. This seems like a Smash Ultimate for Fire Emblem, meaning like everyone is here. You get to summon an older Fire Emblem character with one of your rings, which I think is really cool. Otherwise, it has an engaging, no pun intended, turn-based strategy combat system that Fire Emblem is known for and has done very well, and I'm excited to play Fire Emblem Engage as it comes out for Nintendo Switch on January 20th. Huh, it's pretty soon.
Introducing TurboGrafx 16, the next-generation video game system.
Sea of Stars. Yeah, this game isn't really on too many people's radars, but don't sleep on it because it looks sick. As a fan of older RPGs, Sea of Stars seems to be harkening back to those games, you know, obviously taking inspiration from the early Final Fantasy games, but also Chrono Trigger, which is cool, and also, I don't know about you, but I got some Shining Force vibes from this game. We don't usually get too many games harkening back to Shining Force, but I gotta admire that. Not to mention, Sea of Stars is being made by the creators of The Messenger, which was one of my favorite games the year it came out, and is also being composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, who composed many games like Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which are all some of the best gaming soundtracks ever. And even going off of the trailer, I can already tell the music is going to be sick. I'm excited for Sea of Stars as it's scheduled to come out for PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch sometime in 2023.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is someone's foot fungus, and as it turns out, that might be what you get.
Let's take the combat and action elements of games like Nier Automata and Bayonetta and throw in an ultra-futuristic setting and, well, you know, I'm not gonna say it, but, you know. And you got Stellar Blade. The visuals of this game look, well, stellar, and the combat looks as flashy as Nier or Bayonetta. Not to mention, I'd say going off of the trailer, this looks like a game that is taking advantage of the next-gen features, like with all the little particle effects, and even the story seems interesting. It also seems to be open world, and if it's not open world, the environments look very nice, and so does, you know, I'm still not gonna say it. Stellar Blade looks to be one of the most highly detailed games of 2023, and I'm excited to play it as it comes out on the PS5 sometime in 2023.
This November, California voters will decide if they wish to spend billions to help fund the work. Here's a look at Proposition 14.
Do you want something very fucking weird? Well, let me introduce you to Atomic Heart. I have no idea what this game is. I mean, yeah, we've seen a lot of footage, and we got to see a lot of this game in general, but you guys see the footage that I am showing you right now, right? This is just wacky and crazy shit that I honestly don't know what to expect from. I feel Focus Entertainment, the publisher of Atomic Heart, are slowly becoming a great publisher, as they have had a pretty impressive output lately for a AA publisher with games like A Plague Tale, and even have another upcoming game, Wild Hearts, which I just realized is a game from the same publisher that also has the word heart in it and comes out 4 days before Atomic Heart. Honorable mention goes to Wild Hearts, by the way. I don't know what to expect from Atomic Heart, as it seems like one of the most bizarre first-person shooters I've ever seen, but that's kind of why I'm excited to play it as it releases for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC on February 21st. Because of just how popular Souls-like games have become as a genre, especially with the success of Elden Ring, we got a few of those coming next year, but one that has my eye is Black Myth: Wukong. I don't hear anyone really talking about this game, as it is a game made by Game Science, who are a Chinese developer and publisher that have only made one game before this, but Black Myth: Wukong seems to be an insanely ambitious game. We got a third-person action RPG based on the classical 16th century Chinese novel, Journey to the West. Visually, the game looks stunning, and the combat looks great. This game was announced back in 2020, and since then we've been getting drip-fed a lot of information and gameplay, and each time they show this game, it looks better and better. Black Myth: Wukong looks like a game from a major AAA publisher that has been making games for years. It runs the risk of falling on its own ambitions, but still, I'm excited to play Black Myth: Wukong as it lands on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC at some point in 2023.
You win. Alright, that's cool.
Holy shit. February 14th, 2019. This is the day that Hollow Knight Silksong was announced, and now it seems like we're actually going to be getting it. I know a lot of you guys would probably have this game way higher, but I didn't quite fall in love as much with Hollow Knight as most people did, but it's still a fantastic Metroidvania, and Hollow Knight seems to be a massive step up from a game that is already stellar. Hollow Knight Silksong focuses on Hornet, a side character from the first game, which I think is very cool. What else is cool is the combat, as it looks a lot quicker than the first game. If this game is as challenging as the first game, the quicker combat could be interesting, as it will probably require a certain level of precision that feels rewarding. Like I said earlier though, we have been waiting for Hollow Knight Silksong for a while, as shortly after it was announced in 2019, Team Cherry went dark on this game till earlier this year, but I'm looking forward to finally playing Hollow Knight Silksong as it releases for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series on Game Pass, by the way, Switch, and PC sometime in 2023.
Number 11. Your father will die.
It happens a lot where a game is in development and gets canceled, then uncanceled, then canceled, and then uncanceled, and so on and so forth. I wouldn't be surprised if that has happened with some of the other games on this list, but one such game where that happened is actually scheduled to come out in 2023, and that is Alan Wake 2. Now, I'm not even sure if I should include this game on the list, as all we have for this game is a live action trailer, not even a CG trailer, a live action trailer from last year's Game Awards, not this year, and a 2023 release window. So it is eligible, but still just barely, really. However, and I really like the first Alan Wake, but it wasn't really much of a horror game. You know, it had some horror elements for sure and was definitely suspenseful, but wasn't much of a horror game. There is a difference, I feel. Alan Wake 2, though, is set to be more of a horror game, which sign me up. On top of that, you have the added factor that Alan Wake 2, should it come out next year, will be coming out 13 years after the first game. 13 years! That is insane! Even though we don't have a whole lot to go off of, which is why it just barely misses the top 10, I'm excited for Alan Wake 2 as it arrives on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC sometime next year.
I wanted to give to you, the last part of your notes here, the significance spiritually of the number 10 in the Bible.
SpongeBob made it higher than Alan Wake and Hollow Knight. I'm weird. SpongeBob Cosmic Shake is a full-blown sequel to Battle for Bikini Bottom. That alone gets me excited, and THQ Nordic have been showing a lot of this game, and it looks really good. And this is a $40 budget title. It looks really damn good for a $40 budget title. SpongeBob Cosmic Shake seems to also have a whole bunch of nice callbacks to the show, and seems to be including a whole lot of the characters too. Look, I haven't even watched SpongeBob in like probably 10 years, but like this, I feel like this is up my alley. Not to mention, it's also a 3D platformer. It's not too often we get 3D platformers, so honestly, it's really exciting when we get to see a new 3D platformer. And SpongeBob Cosmic Shake looks like a worthy follow-up to Battle for Bikini Bottom, which was a lot of people's childhoods. Throw that in with all the worlds in this game and the visuals, and you got a game that I'm very stoked for. And the coolest part is, we don't have to wait too long for SpongeBob Cosmic Shake, as it comes out for Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC on January 31st. Suikoden, an RPG franchise I never really got into, but, you know, it's Konami, and they were good, but now they're not, so it's pretty much dead. Until they announced the remasters. But before they announced the remasters, there is a spiritual successor to Suikoden coming, and that is Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This is a massive Kickstarter campaign. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of, if not the most funded ever, at least when it comes to video games, and it looks super ambitious as the visual style they chose looks stunning. The 2D HD, and the story seems awesome. The music, just going off of the trailers, slaps, and this game just looks so good. Not to mention, it might be a spiritual successor to Suikoden, as it has a lot of the people behind those games behind this one, but also people who worked on Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, the Tales of series, Star Ocean, Wild Arms, and more. And there will also be 100 playable characters, and geez, this game is shaping up to be crazy. You might be wondering why it's not higher, since I am very high on this game. Well, that's because it got a little prequel game earlier this year, the Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, and it was boring. Like, seriously, it did really disappoint me. But that was a holdover game, and this game seems to be the real deal. Don't sleep on Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, as it comes out for Switch, PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on Game Pass, by the way, which this is kind of a weird pick for Game Pass, but still, sometime in 2023.
So I'm going to be giving this flavor 8.5 out of 10 scoops.
Is it just me, or have we been getting a lot of Pinocchio lately? We got that shitty-ass Disney remake, we got the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio, which by the time of recording, I have not seen, but I've heard great things about. Most interestingly, sometime next year, we are getting a Souls-like game based on the story of Pinocchio called Lies of P, and it looks really damn good. This admittedly is not something I ever asked for, but I think Lies of P might end up being something I didn't know I wanted, being a Souls-like action RPG based on the story of Pinocchio with a dark aesthetic. This game has also been in development for quite some time, and it shows. Even though the game is not out yet, visually it looks stunning and definitely impressive when you consider that this is a smaller developer and publisher, NeoWiz, from South Korea. Wow, between this and Black Myth Wukong, it's fair to say, do not sleep on these independent foreign developers. I cannot wait for Lies of P, as it comes out sometime next year for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC, and it's coming to Game Pass day one, by the way, so that's another plus.
36.
Very close, but that's not it. Let's go to Gary the Retard. What number between 2 and 4?
7.
Okay, we are starting to get to the point where this list gets really tough. But next is Hogwarts Legacy. Now look, I understand that there is a lot of controversy surrounding this game, really just for association with the Harry Potter brand and, you know, She Who Shall Not Be Named. I would understand why you would disagree with my decision to include this game, and I do think trans rights are human rights, But the developers of Hogwarts Legacy have stated that She Who Shall Not Be Named is not directly involved with this game at all, really. I don't want this to get political, I just wanted to clear something up. But now that I have personally made that distinction for myself, I must also come clean and say that I am not much of a Potterhead at all, really, but Hogwarts Legacy has personally won me over with its open world elements and its dark setting. Harry Potter and the Wizarding World is often marketed for kids, but this one seems really dark. The customization options look very cool, and the combat seems interesting using the magic that we know from the Wizarding World. I'm just excited for Hogwarts Legacy as it comes out for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC on February 10th with a Switch version down the line.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score?
6. Woo! I remember being hesitantly excited for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order back in 2019 because we were fresh off of the debacle that was Star Wars Battlefront 2, and we were still iffy on EA Star Wars, but Jedi Fallen Order ended up being one of the best Star Wars games, and its long-awaited sequel, Jedi Survivor, is finally coming out and it looks awesome. Leaving off after Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor seems to have a bit of a time jump with some new stuff as well. You got dual lightsabers, the Kylo Ren lightsaber, some new characters, some new cool force abilities, like being able to use a stormtrooper as a weapon and slow down time. Star Wars Jedi Survivor seems to be a step up from an already great Jedi Fallen Order with some Souls-like mechanics and a story that has me engaged. I cannot wait to play Star Wars Jedi Survivor as it comes out for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on March 17th.
Chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 killed my brother.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Okay, now we're getting into the top 5, and this list is getting fucking nuts. As now we have the Resident Evil 4 remake. I know I said no remakes, but I actually said no remakes unless they are doing something different, or, you know, I said something like that. And I love the original Resident Evil 4, and I believe it is the best Resident Evil game, and I didn't think it needed a remake. Especially since they remade the first 3 because they haven't aged too well and remade them to play more like 4. However, as much as I love Resident Evil 4, it's more of an action game without too many horror elements. The Resident Evil 4 remake is turning Resident Evil 4 into a horror game. Going off of the footage we've gotten so far, the game looks frightening, with some genuine tension and jump scares that don't seem cheap at all, you know? I don't think any Resident Evil game will ever be scarier than 7, but the Resident Evil 4 remake seems to be taking a game that I didn't think needed a remake and turning it into something that makes sense. I cannot wait for Resident Evil 4 remake, as it makes us shit ourselves when we play it on PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on March 24th. Within the past few years, I've grown an appreciation for Final Fantasy. Sure, there are some stinkers out there, but there are some real winners too, and Final Fantasy 16 is looking like a real winner. A lot of people seem to be upset that Final Fantasy 16 is an action RPG, and while I understand why maybe you would prefer the turn-based gameplay, I don't care. From the trailers we've gotten, Final Fantasy 16 looks like an absolute gem. With the combat, visuals, the story, and how it seems to be following new character Clive Rosefield in many stages of his life. The inclusion of Ifrit seems insane. It seems like we are getting 2 main characters, and we are getting a mainline Final Fantasy game that is rated M. That is awesome. You've heard me say this a lot, but I cannot wait for this game, Final Fantasy 16, as it comes out for the PS5 on June 22nd. Holy shit, guys, it gets crazier and crazier. if a new Star Wars, Resident Evil, and Final Fantasy game wasn't enough, how does a sequel to the PS4 Spider-Man game sound? Now, to be fair, we don't have gameplay, and Sony went dark on this game after just a CG trailer last year. However, this game is this high just because of what it is following up. Spider-Man on PS4 is a near perfect game with web-slinging mechanics that feel like just a lot of fun, and combat that feels really nice. Not to mention Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was a very nice sidequel that did a good job holding us over. Now Spider-Man 2, going off of the one trailer, seems to be following not only Peter Parker but also Miles Morales, possibly having like a co-op twist, along with the inclusion of Venom and maybe even Kraven the Hunter. Even though I'm honestly starting to doubt whether or not it will be actually coming out in 2023, I'm excited to play Spider-Man 2 on the PS5 as it comes out next year sometime.
What kind of pencil do we take again?
Number 2. Take a number 2.
Looks like you took a big number 2.
Honestly, I can swap number 1 and number 2, as I'm excited for both of them, I think equally, for completely different reasons, but it came down and I put Street Fighter 6 at number 2. At this point, you can probably tell what number 1 is. Even without process of elimination, I'm sure you know. But Street Fighter 6, and I mean this as a huge fan of Street Fighter, but this game is shaping up to possibly be the best game in the franchise. Capcom seems to have learned their lesson from the launch of Street Fighter V, as the game looks like it can release right now and it'll be good. And the gameplay looks fucking nuts. On top of that, a lot of returning characters look better than ever, and the new characters look awesome. Jamie, Kimberly, JP, Marisa, and more. These new characters look absolutely crazy and so much fun. Throw that in with the new character creator, which is a first for the Street Fighter series, and while maybe a little cursed, I think it's a really cool addition as someone who has not tried it out yet. And I need Street Fighter 6 like yesterday, as it launches for PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on June 2nd. Before we get to number 1, and yes, even though it's a top 20, there are still some honorable mentions. So let's take a look at them.
I'm Luigi, number 1.
You probably expected it, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It's Zelda. Now, this list was very hard, and I toyed with the idea of having like Street Fighter or Final Fantasy or Spider-Man at number 1, but Zelda not being at number 1 just didn't feel right. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom might have a lot on its shoulders, being the direct sequel to one of the greatest games of the fucking century, maybe even of all time. But you know what? This is why the hype is so real for this game. Although we haven't seen much footage for Tears of the Kingdom, and every time it gets shown, it kind of barely gets shown, but that shows that Nintendo will not release this game until it is ready. So that might mean it gets pushed off of its current release date, but if that means somehow outdoing the excellency of Breath of the Wild, I think it will be worth it. Breath of the Wild did something new with the Zelda franchise, and Tears of the Kingdom seems to be building upon what Breath of the Wild is doing, or did, I don't know why I wrote is doing, and that is enough to get excited for. Just like most of you, I can't wait to play Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as it comes out on May 12th. For the Nintendo Switch. Whew, that was a big one. This recording is almost 40 minutes long, so I'm not gonna drag this one out Thanks for watching. What are your most anticipated games? You don't have to give me your top 20. You can give me your top 10, top 5, top 15. You could give me your top 20. You could give me your top fucking 100. I don't know if you can find that many, really. But, like, this was hard. 2023, I know, I can tell you, 2023 is going to be a great year for games. We said that about this year, but I feel it for 2023. But anyways, be sure to like this video, come subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.